Good evening, all participants. We are in the third day of GeoGebra webinar series, and the last day of the webinar Cornea web series. And today, resource persons are from Electronics and Communication Department. Anup sir and Mr. Mahesh sir, they were going to demonstrate with actual examples which they tried in the classroom and which helped the students. Okay, so for that, I just wanted to tell you yesterday there were two questions. One was day before yesterday. Pratibha madam asked about can we trace can we fit a curve actually? But because day before yesterday that was not done. Yesterday I have answered her question. I met her personally and she said that is what she wanted using the polyfit option. Fit poly. I think yesterday we did. Using that, we can for a given. I think my screen is not visible. Yes, using that we can fit the polynomial of any data. That is the other label about the label. It is possible, but what we are supposed to do is first you have to go no new label option, and then whenever you use some points, it won't give you the labels. Then for labeling, you have to use a text. That's all. Under the text option, you type say 1 as a text, 2 as a text, and then automatically you can label with 1, 2, 3, 4 also. So I think these are the two questions asked by the audience, and both are possible using GeoGebra. I'm not able to demonstrate here just because the net is giving little bit problem. Over to you, sir. My sir or Anup sir, I think you can continue.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll just share my screen, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. My screen is visible, right, Jidesh, sir? Thank you, Raman, sir. So I once again welcome everyone to this last session on Cornea 2020. Today we'll just So today we'll just see some of the use cases which we have tried out in classes, right? So even though it is from our domain, I think the GeoGebra implementation part, all of you will be able to relate, right? So today myself, Anup and Mahesha will be presenting. Right. So initially, before we start with today's session, I would request Jitesh to launch the first poll. Yeah. So the first poll question is: have you used GeoGebra for online or offline instruction so far? Yeah, Jitesh, if it is done, maybe if you can share the results. Yeah. So 63% is no, and to 25% no, and so most of you have not used it, right? So okay, fine. So we'll move on to the next poll. So Jitesh, can you launch the second poll? Right. So now that you we go to know you have not used. So which topic of current or previous course do you think can be addressed using GeoGebra? It's a short answer question. You can just think and type it in. So for this, an ample time of 2 minutes is given. Right. So if you can just think of any topic which you can use GeoGebra, as Ramananda sir has given a very detailed description of what can be done using GeoGebra. Yeah, so we have many answers. Say mathematics, curve fitting, don't know, none of them. Fourier series and transform, mathematical, electromagnetics, maths, field theory, digital signal processing, power electronics, graphics, curve fitting. Right? Yeah. So we have some answers, and some are not yet sure whether they can use it. Right. So, okay, with this note, we would like to start today's session, right? So what we'll try and do is we'll just demonstrate some of the use cases which we have used, right? We have used GeoGebra in some subjects. Uh, Jitesh, I think, yeah, okay, fine, yeah. So I'll share the screen once again. Yeah, so in today's session, we'll be discussing some of the use cases, right? So anyhow, as it is related to electronics, but the GeoGebra implementation part, I think all of you will be able to appreciate. What we'll try and do is how it is done in conventional chalk and talk method, and how we can do it in GeoGebra platform. So that's what we'll be doing. So first three examples here I'll be demonstrating, and after that, next three examples, my sir will be demonstrating. So we have tried to include examples from uh, diverse topics, right? But I hope you'll be able to relate it. And I would like to start with the submission. If you are teaching a like subject which involves certain amount of mathematical expressions and mathematical modeling, this will be really helpful, right? Otherwise, also like GeoGebra in itself is a complete package. You can use it for machine learning and many other like aspects which we are not discussing here, which is beyond actually what scope of our discussion, right? So I request everyone to kindly explore it. Ramananda sir has shared some of the resources. You can try and explore it. So we'll start with our demonstration. So the first one is actually to teach the concepts of Smith chart. We have tried it actually. So a Smith chart, as you can see here in the screen, it's like some complicated thing like this, right? So it's basically some set of circles in a complex gamma plane, right? So I'm not telling anything about the technicalities, right? I just will be showing, right? So this is what we'll be doing. Normally, there are two sets of circles. One is constant resistance circle. If you can see here, I'll just try and use a laser pointer. So in this, you can see two sets of circle. One set actually what it of which the diameter will be this horizontal line, and another set of incomplete circles, right? So there are two sets of circles. So normally to teach using chalk and talk, what we'll be doing is we'll be writing. So these are the equations of constant resistance circles, right? So there the equation is like this, right? Gamma r minus blah blah, and the center of the, so as we can equate it with the standard equation of a circle, and I can tell the students center of the circle is r by 1 plus r comma 0, and radius is 1 by 1 plus r. Then I just have to make them visualize somehow what will happen when r changes, right? And what will happen, how the center of the circle will shift when r changes, how radius of the circle will change, all those aspects. And similarly another set of circle, right? So maybe what we used to do is we used to draw like on board, and of course we used to use some ppts and little bit of animation. Even then students were finding it difficult, right? So this is one aspect where we could successfully use GeoGebra, right? And students really appreciated it, right? So now at this point, maybe I request Jitesh to launch another poll just to make you feel how GeoGebra can make you visualize some mathematical expression, right? So Jitesh, can you launch the third poll, right? So there is a question, right? As x increases, value of the function x by x plus 1 tends to, the options are 0, 1, x, and x plus 1. So maybe I have taken it as a sub-problem of the Smith chart problem, right? The center of a circle, right, is 0, comma, r by 1 plus r, comma 0. So if you can visualize it, you can straight away give the answer. Otherwise, we can use GeoGebra also. Maybe I request, if you have access to GeoGebra, to try out with GeoGebra. Maybe what you can do is you can just type in x by 1 plus x and see what happens, how that curve goes. If you have access to GeoGebra, you can try it out. Right. Otherwise, I'll just show you how to visualize it. Then we'll move on to this part, Smith chart construction demonstration. Right. So basically, I want to teach students how the Smith chart can be constructed. How can I tell these are constant resistance circle? How these are constant reactance circle? Right. So it's actually a sub problem of that. Yeah. So yeah. So we have the poll results here. Right. So 38% have told it is 1, and 5% told it is x plus 1, and 46% no answer. Of course, not a problem. Right. So the answer is actually 1. So maybe what we'll do is, along with this Smith chart demonstration, I can just show you this as well, how to use GeoGebra. Right. So I hope my GeoGebra screen is visible. Right. So now what we can do is, in GeoGebra, you can just type in x by x plus 1, x by x plus 1, right? And then just enter, right? So, but here it's considering entire range of x from minus infinity to plus infinity. So I would like to limit it. For that, if you have to limit the graph which is shown, what you can do is you can put a simple comma and you can write x greater than 0. Right. So now it will show only for x greater than 0. So as you can see here, as x increases, right, the x function x by 1 plus x approaches to 1. Right. Maybe so we can help students to visualize such aspects using this. And one more thing, one more helpful thing, which I believe would be, I would like to show here. Right. So I've just yesterday Ramananda sir had told how to create a slider. So I've just created a slider with a parameter n, which will vary from 0 to 10. So I have the slider, right? Then I have created a point whose coordinates are n and n by n plus 1, right? So I just wanted to visualize n along with n by n plus 1. So that's why I've created a point. This is how you can create a point, right? So that point, now as n is equal to 0, that point you can see it is at the origin. Right? I'll just zoom it in. That point is at the origin. So now when you start the animation, you can see that point is moving along the exact same, like the graph which we got. So now I have given the limit of n from 0 to 10. So you can see that the point is moving, right? And to improve the experience further, what we can do is you can right click on the point, and if you give this, yeah, show trace option, right? And I think already, yeah. So it will show the trace of the point. So this is how we can use GeoGebra. Be it a very simple concept, but to visualize this, it is going to be very difficult. So we can use GeoGebra there. So you have this show trace option. So it will trace the movement of that point. Locus of the point will be traced. So that's about that poll question, right? So now, so this is actually the Smith chart which we constructed in like using GeoGebra, right? So I'll just initially clear this. I'll take hardly 3 to 4 minutes to explain this. Right? I'll just clear this. Yeah, so now everything is clear. So what I wanted to do was, I told in Smith chart, we had two like sets of concentric circles, as you can see here, right? Constant R circles, it has some radius and its center, and they are functions of R. And we have constant reactant circle, it has some radius and center, and it's a function of X, right? So I just want to show what happens when R changes to constant R circles, and what happens when X changes to constant resistance circle, right? So initially I've typed here the same equation, right? Same equation which I have given, I've typed it in here, right? So I have just, right? So now R is equal to 0, then we can see this is the circle when R is equal to 0. Then I can play the animation, or else I can change the slider manually. So we can see the circle actually what changes. So I can either play the animation, right? So now I can explain better. So what happens is, as R increases, the radius, right? So as R increases, radius will decrease, and the center will move towards the point 1 comma 0, right? So I can explain easily. And similarly, the constant x circle that I have written here, right? So if I play animation of that, right, I can tell what happens when x changes. When x is negative, it will be below the horizontal line. X is positive, it will be above. So all those things easily I can visualize using this. And about construction of Smith chart, right? I have already typed in a set of like equations. So when r equal to 0, this is the circle. When r equal to 0.2, this is a circle, right? So I have for different values of r, right? I have written. So you can just imagine how difficult it would be to draw on board neatly and accurately. But here it is very easy, right? Maybe what we can do is we have option to duplicate equation, and in that we have to simply change the value. So we have r equal to 0 and r equal to 10. So as r increases, I can tell the radius decreases and center moves and all those things, right? So this is how I can use GeoGebra to construct that. Otherwise, like I was pointing it difficult until Mahesh sir introduced like me to this GeoGebra. We were using it using a Blackboard, so it was difficult. Blackboard and PPT, it was difficult. But with this, it became like quite easy. Like that drawing part can be removed, and construction of Smith chart could actually explain in a better way. I hope you'll be able to appreciate it. Right. So then this is the first demonstration which I wanted to give. Right. So then next one is right about modulation. So even though modulation is a part of electronics and communication engineering, I would like to view it as visualizing a complicated trigonometric expression. I think most of the domains such expressions will be there. Right. So normally what we used to do is we used again chalk and talk. I used to write this is carrier, this is m of t. So this is the s of t. This is the expression which I want them to visualize, and I want to explain what happens when Ka changes, this parameter changes, or what happens when AC changes, right? So such things again, it is going to be difficult, right? Normally what we used to do is for certain value of K, I'll draw a diagram on board. This is the first diagram when K and M of is less than 1. This is going to be the second diagram. If it is greater than 1, I have to show them, okay, this phase reversal happens, right? So those things are going to be difficult. So, but with GeoGebra, deal in a better way, right? So this is the again I'm not spending time on typing these things, right? I've already typed it in, right? So as that expression, I have these parameters AC, FC, AM, FM, K, all those I have taken a slider, right? And this is the expression which I wanted, right? AC into 1 plus K into AM cos 2 pi. Same thing what I have written there, I have typed it in here, right? So now this is the waveform. So now I can see what happens when say FM changes. When FM changes, this is what is happening, right? Or I can show it as an animation, or right when AM changes, this is what is happening. And especially if I have to show the concept, if I have to explain the concept of phase reversal, it is going to be difficult on board, right? But now with this GeoGebra, as I change here, I can show, okay, its phase is getting reversed. I can show here instead of this waveform, right, just continuing upwards, it again came down. So there is a phase reversal when the mode of K into M of T is greater than 1. So it becomes easy. So this is another like use case which we found very helpful. Right, I'm not spending much time on this. We move on to the next one. Right. So this is about modulation, and another one is actually what error probability, that wherein students are supposed to visualize Gaussian distributed random variables. Right. So maybe for you to just follow what I'm going to do here. These are simply just two events. The probability distribution of one event is given by this. Maybe I'll call it event 0, and probability distribution of event another event is like this, right? And maybe we want to just find what is the error probability. So I'm not giving the technical aspects, just two events, right? And those two events are differentiated using some threshold, right? Say threshold is 0. If the value is greater than 0, then automatically the decision will be taken, okay, the event 1 had happened. and if the values less than 0, automatically decision will be taken even 0 had happened. But the problem is, as you can see, this even once probability density, a conditional probability density curve, it spans towards the right of 0, and even 0 is also towards the left of 0. So there is a chance of error. So we wanted to discuss what is the probability of error, and we also wanted to introduce something like U function and all, which are in turn really abstract, and normally we use only mathematical expressions. But if we can use GeoGebra, I believe it again can simplify. So what I've done here again is we have so we have again I have the parameters, right? Energy is one parameter, and like I've defined these mean values of two probability density functions as S11 and S21. This is the mean value of first probability density function. This is the mean value of second probability density function, and it in turn is a function of E, right? And this is the noise, say the spectral density N naught, and the variance will be a function of N naught, right? So those two are the parameters, N naught and E. So I just have to explain what happens to the error probability when N naught and E is changed, right? So for that, again, I've written, this is the probability, the conditional probability density function of the the random variable 0, and this is the probability, this is the probability density function of the random variable 1. So now I can just vary this. What happens when N naught changes? You can see the area of overlapping is increasing. The Gaussian bill, its width is increasing, its height is decreasing, and the area which it is getting overlapped, it is increasing, right? And because of that, the probability of error in turn will increase. It becomes easy for me to explain. And similarly, if I increase E, or energy per bit, if I increase, you can see these Gaussian belts are moving further apart, which actually what reduces the area which is overlapping, right? So it again reduces the error. So for these cases, um, we found the use of GeoGebra really effective, right? So I just wanted to discuss these things, right? And now I would request Mahesh sir to uh, take over, right? Over to you, Mahesh sir, please. So this is what I had to discuss. Thank you, sir. Sir Ramananda sir, if you have to add anything, sir. Yeah, okay. I think over to Mahesh sir. Mahesh sir, please.
Nothing, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay.
Thank. I'll share my screen. I think my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah. Today I will see cases of using GeoGebra in teaching some of the complex things. So one of them is the Fourier series. So in Fourier series, that we can use or we can represent any signal, any type of signal, as a sum of sine and cosine terms. So my doubt was, when I was studying, my doubt was, what about the square wave? Because a square wave is not matching with the sine wave, which has sharp curves and all. So this doubt, the same doubt the students also have. So we can demonstrate that one using here, using the GeoGebra. So the expression for Fourier series using the sine is given by a by 2n plus 1 pi sine 2n plus 1 f ft. That is the expression actually. So I'm not going to the expression. Now I'll show, as I increase the number of sine terms, which is higher frequency terms I am adding. Now I'm having a frequency, for example, I will fix frequency as, so this is a 3 hertz sine wave. Now if I the number of added in sum, so I'm using b as here. So I make B as 1. Sine is the another sign which is having lesser amplitude, because I am divide the amplitude is divided by 2n plus 1 pi. So when n increases, this also changes. So this is the case when two sine waves are added. And if I increase the value, you can see here the wave finally approaches to a square wave. So this is how we can demonstrate, students, that the square wave is also can be written as a sum of sine waves. And one more thing, what you can observe here is that this is the limitation of digital devices compared to the analog devices, that when you have to represent a square wave perfectly with the digital device, we have to add these many sine waves, which means in this case I am using 50 terms of sine waves. And if you use increase the number of sine waves, it wave uh, uh, compared to as you increase the number. But this means you are using more frequency, means your bandwidth is more. So that is the limitation of digital device, that also we can explain using the this one. So this is the one of the example which I am using the GeoGebra graphing calculator. And another example I am going to explain here is how to use a linear transformation. So I'm using an image here. I think you can see the image here, which has 2 points A and B represented by two vectors. So we know that we can transform the vectors in transformation. So I have a transforming vector called ACBD here with the values which I can change here. Now, when A is equal to 1, B is equal to 0, C is equal to 0, B is equal to 0, C is equal to 0, and D equal to 1, this is the identity transformation. So, transformation means what? Here, the as the original image is there, the same image will be obtained here. If I change the value of A here, I can see that the vector I is transformed. The length of the vector I is changing here, means the horizontal width of the image is increasing. Similarly, if I change the value of D here, you can see the length of the vector J is changing, because J is the second uh, unit vector, or the second unit vector which we are using. So J changes here. Now, if I change the value of C, the image gets shears. B also, I can get the shearing in both direction. Now what if I want to invert the image? For example, I am keeping that it as B equal to 0, D equal to 1. Again I am coming back to the original image which was there. Now in the value of D equal to -1. So what happened to the image? Image is now image got we are getting the mirror image of the image from the same axis. Now I change the value of A equal to 1 to D. I am keeping D equal to 1, and I am changing the value of A as my. So this is how I can change the value of A, B, C, D, and get the all other transformations which we will be using in machine learning, especially when we want to get the different features of an image by getting the linear transformations of the image. So this is another case where we can lively demonstrate what happens to the vectors as the transformation vector changes, and when you multiply transformation, what all possible transformations you can obtain, like shearing the image, extending the image, or inverting the image, finding the mirror image along the vertical axis, finding the mirror image along the horizontal axis, etc. So that is how that is another example where we can show how to use images in GeoGebra. Here I am using the GeoGebra Classic app. Earlier I used GeoGebra Calculator. Now I am using GeoGebra Classic app. So I am moving to the last example, that is using GeoGebra in 3D. So this is some of the thing which I am currently using in subject. So where I need to teach the students about getting a point A, representing a point in a 3 dimension, and how I can reach that point with the different coordinate systems. Conventionally, what I am teaching is I am using the pen like this. I will draw a x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis like this, and I mark a point here. Now, students has the confusion where is the point, whether it is in front of this one or beside the screen, or it is towards the left, or so it is difficult to visualize the point with the 2D diagram. But if I am using this, I can show that A is in the first quadrant with the values of how much in x-axis, how much in y-axis, and how much in z-axis. So normally, first Cartesian coordinate system is represented. So for representing Cartesian coordinate system, I will use 3 points. That is how I can reach to the point A from the origin. So I'm using 3 vectors along the x-axis. I'm using u. Then I'm using v along the y-axis in the direction of y. So I will reach the point of B, which is just below the point A, like this. You see from the top, it is just below the point A. And then I'm using the third vector like this, so that I can reach to the point. So I need 2 here. One is to reach from here to here, the x coordinate, another one is to y coordinate, another one is the z coordinate. Now I can show this is a fixed point. Even I can change the value of A, B, and C so that the points can be changed like this. How the length in A, B, C, or X, Y, Z changes, how the point reaches to the different locations. So this is how I can explain them. To reach a point, I can use 3 coordinates called X and Y and Z. So this normally students know, even if I can show the negative axis also like this. If I want to reach a negative point also, what changes I have to do along the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So these 3 parameters are required. Now, we have another coordinate system called a spherical coordinate system. So I will set the value of A such that it is in the first quadrant. Now A is in the first quadrant. So how to reach the point A? So I can reach to the point A by just moving just below A directly, but I need 2 parameters here. One is that the angle between the x-axis and the length from origin to that point. So that is called rho, and this is called phi. And the third one is the same which we used earlier, from that point to z, that is called z. So by using 3 parameters again called rho, phi, and z, I can reach the this value. So this is difficult to show in the conventional method, that I can reach up to that point and then move like this. So this is difficult to students to visualize this one. I have A here and I have to project that down, and again I have to draw like this. So I cannot degree. This is difficult to some students find difficult to visualize why this is 90 degree. It is not 90 degree in the image. Here I can show that these two are perpendicular to each other. So this is the second coordinate system. So I can show this why this is called a cylindrical coordinate system. It depends way how it is represented. So I'll here. So I'm using a point called E here, and I'm using the radius as A. So if I change the value of A, you can see the cylinder diameter increases. And if I change the value of Z, you can see the height of the cylinder changes. And I can use also phi to change the angle, which I can not show here now for the time being. Okay, so this is the cylindrical coordinate system where I'm using the point, a particular point, using three parameters. One is rho, another one is phi, another one is z. Now, the third one is the spherical coordinate system. So, I'll show this one here. So, that's how I can reach that point by again using three parameters. In the earlier case, we have used three parameters. The first case, we have used x, y, z. The second, we used rho, phi, z. In the third case, I am using another parameter called r, theta, and phi. So the r is the angle between r is the length from the origin to that point, and phi is the angle between x-axis by this angle. I can show like this. This is the angle between x-axis and theta, and again theta between z-axis. So I can show like this. So this is the z-axis, and this is the r vector. So theta is the angle r and z-axis. You can show all these values and change the values and a trace of this one also. So Anup sir discussed this one, how to show the trace of the point. Okay. Right click here. I have difficulty here now for the time being. Okay, I will show the changes when the radius changes. I'm using A as the radius. So if I change the value of A, you can see the vector is increasing its radius along the same line. So you can reach different points, but setting the value of where I have to project, I can change the value phi. So if I use phi, and if I am not changing the value of r, you can see here, I'm only changing the value of phi. I can show that the vector is creating a conical shape around the z-axis like this. If I'm changing the value of phi alone, so it starts from 0° to 360°. And if I'm keeping both a radius and phi as a constant, and if I'm changing the angle theta, you can see here in the same, it is rotating the angle with the z-axis only, it is changing here. So here again we are using the three coordinates, so how it changes along z-axis and how the angle with the x-axis can be shown. Everything can be easily demonstrated to the students. Also, we can see why it is called a spherical coordinate system. Here, if I fix the angle and just changing the value of radius, you can see as r increases, it creates a sphere of radius r. And the radius sphere, why it is sphere? Because it is rotating in a circular manner, so it creates a radius here. Okay, so this is how I can show or demonstrate the different coordinate systems in 3 dimension. Otherwise, we have to draw it in the board, or we have to take a coordinate system using a model of a 3 dimensional system, and then I have to show, or we have to use the classroom corners as a 3D system, and I have to move around. And but this is useful in class as well as in the offline classes of this GeoGebra. So that is all the types of experiments which we have used in our classrooms. Students found it very effective. That's all. Over to Anup sir.
Thank you, Mahesh sir. Right. So these are some of the demonstrations which we just wanted to like give. We know it's not from from our domain, that is electronics, but the implementation part, I think similar contents will be like showing up in all the domains. I don't know about computer science and MCA, MP and all, but of course for other branches, GeoGebra will be helpful at times. For instance, we can tell this, whatever this coordinate system. So Mahesh sir has explained within 5 minutes or so. We used to keep one entire bridge course, and three of us used to teach actually. Like myself, Vijay Ganesh sir and Mahesh sir, we used to like explain by considering corner of a class as z-axis, then x-axis, y-axis. We used to move literally to show that, but we don't have all those hassles now. GeoGebra helped us in that aspect very much, right? So we can really feel, and GeoGebra can do much more, which we have even not tried of, right? So maybe those who are dealing with abstract concepts which involve like mathematics and all, we hope it will be, GeoGebra will be a wonderful tool to like say simplify the concepts and make the students visualize things, right? For others, those who have not handled such things, maybe you are feeling it's useless, right? But even then, fine. So I now request Jidesh to launch that last poll once, poll once again. That the poll which was asked again, I would like to, which was asked earlier, I would like to ask it again. Now, after these demonstrations, right? Do you think any of the current or previous course topics you can address using GeoGebra? Please type in your answers. Right, you can just think through and type in. 2 minutes is given for this poll once again. Yeah, Jidesh, if it is done, you can please share the poll results, and we can just see whether any new topic have come up. Yeah, I think. Yeah, now we have some new things, more circle control systems, engineering drawing, right? Machine learning, MN circles, graph theory, Fourier series, Fourier transform, control engineering. So I think some more options have come out now compared to like the same poll which was previously. So with this, I think I would like to conclude this demonstration. So now it is over to Ramananda sir. Ramananda sir, if you have to add any insights, sir, you may please.
Thank you very much, sir. Hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir. You're audible, sir.
I think even all the faculty members of all the departments can also use this tool effectively, and I think we can enhance our teaching. So I would like to thank Mahesh sir as well as Anup sir for giving an interesting talk, even though it was not that easy to do hands-on here, but I think surely the teachers can get from your talk, and we can try our best to visualize the things using GeoGebra. I think recently, just I wanted to add, recently there is one WhatsApp video which is moving around viral. It is equations, the Devi Durga photo that they have traced using equations. I think you have seen, most of you. It is done using GeoGebra. And I tried few equations. I got the eyes and eyebrows of the Devi Durga. And anyone can try to write anyone can try to draw using GeoGebra. So this is something interesting, and this is right time it has come to motivate the teachers. I think that's what I wanted to add here. I would like to thank all. I think this is Pratima madam, or somebody want to give a vote of thanks for this cornea.
Yes, Pratima ma'am will be like speaking up, sir.
Okay, then thank you, fine. Pratima madam.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So first participants are requested to give the feedback for this particular session for the day 8, and the link will be posted now. So here we have come to an end of Cornea 2020, 8 days hands-on workshop series. I remain grateful to all the resource persons, Mr. Keith Fernandez, Mr. Ragesh Raju, Dr. Ramanand HS, Mr. Anup Sevi, Mr. Mahesh, for all the illuminating sessions on various teaching learning tools. My sincere thanks goes to the college management, our beloved director, Reverend Father Wilfred Prakash D'Souza, Assistant Directors Reverend Father Rohit D'Costa and Reverend Father Alvin Richard D'Souza for their unconditional support in all our endeavors. My heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed principal, Dr. Rio D'Souza, for his encouragement and support in organizing this workshop, Cornea 2020. My sincere thanks to Mr. Anup, the coordinator of Sanjosh, the Teaching Learning Center, for his wholehearted cooperation and support for making this workshop a fruitful one. We will a big thanks to all our wonderful participants for your active participation in the workshop. The feedback link will be shared, that is the overall feedback link will be shared to your mails soon. Participants are requested to fill up the feedback forms and submit. And you'll be receiving your e-certificates based on that. Thank you everyone and have a nice day. Thank you.